Hey folks, welcome back, and thank you for joining me a little bit later again tonight. I've been pretty darn busy during the day, and I have not gotten to the morning podcast episodes and YouTube videos that I've wanted to do. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there with you tomorrow morning either, so tune in tomorrow during the day or the evening. Follow me right here on Spreaker and subscribe on YouTube. And that way you won't miss anything that I have to say. And hey, if you want to hear what I have to say, listen. If you don't, that's fine too. But I hope that you'll listen to this one, because I think this is an important, once again, an important sort of topic to discuss. And I'm going to try to do this in 10 minutes or less. I know that of the long-winded commentary, I'm not always the very best at that, but I will try my best. So I recently put up a Facebook post on my personal page. So don't, not that I don't love you guys, but don't friend me personally unless I know you. Otherwise, I won't know to accept the request. And I kind of want to just keep that page to people I know. But I am referring right now back to that page because I posted all of this information there. I don't always feel comfortable posting this stuff on my work page because some of it can come off as a little bit controversial. I don't feel that it is. I don't know any therapist or psychologist or anyone that I've worked with that feels like it is. But a layperson, totally honest guys, might feel that this is a bit rude. It's not, because you're not dealing with somebody who is a functioning individual. You're dealing with somebody who's disordered. That means you're dealing with somebody who has issues that transcend mental illness. It's not a mental illness. Sociopathy, narcissism, they are not mental illnesses. So you're dealing with somebody whose issues transcend mental illness. As we've talked about before, and I'm probably beating a dead horse to those of you guys who listen in on a regular basis. But as I've talked about before, these folks have a soul level disorder. That's just my terminology for it. I don't know if other professionals, refer to it in that way, but that's what I feel. That these folks have a soul level disorder. And again, we're not talking about religious or spiritual terminology here. We're not talking about the religious or spiritual idea of a soul. When I say soul, of course, I am referring to that which is at the core of anybody, any individual, anybody out there. That which is at the core. That which is at the center, okay? So I'm not referring to some religious, concept that's hard to define and subjective. I'm referring not to just your personality, but to you as a human at your core. So I think soul is a good colloquial word to use for that. So I do say that these folks have a soul level disorder, and I believe that they do. I think that's a really kind of, if I do say so myself, an eloquent way to put it. And one eloquent description that I quite adore, and I am, of course, I'm horrible with names. That is one of my major pet peeves about myself in life. I'm just horrendous with names. I need to meet you at least 4 or 5 times before I remember your name. And it's not that I don't care about your story. I'm actually so interested in your story that I've forgotten your name within 30 seconds of meeting you. But there's this wonderful doctor in Chicago where I'm located. He is absolutely amazing. And I believe he's an LCPS as well, if I'm not mistaken. He has termed he's coined this wonderful term. It's a term for folks who actually are targeted by narcissists and sociopaths. And oftentimes in the past, we would hear psychologists, psychiatrists, and those in the mental health professions refer to these folks as codependents. I like this man's terminology better. He coined the term self-love deficit disorder. So don't be that person with self-love deficit disorder. If you're being targeted by somebody like this, it is okay to stand up for yourself, folks, even if you feel like you're going to sound rude. So I know that life is a very subjective experience in so many ways, but I want you to think about something very, very carefully. Before you say, oh my gosh, am I going to sound rude? I want you to think, how the hell do you think that guy sounds targeting you? So who cares if you sound rude? How do you think this horrible person sounds when they're targeting you? Do you think they sound nice? I think not. So before you worry about whether you might sound a little bit rude, please think about what they're doing to you and the fact that you're deserving of much better treatment. You are. I mean, really, you are. So don't worry. Don't focus on sounding rude or sounding off-putting. Oftentimes, people who are strong individuals who come across strong are going to sound off-putting, even if we're not being off-putting. Even if that's not our intention, even if that's not what we're doing at all. To some, we might sound off-putting, and that's okay. It's better to put a couple of people off than try to agree with everybody and get stomped on and abused in so doing, right? And you can always utilize kindness in life, but you've got to make sure you've got boundaries. And I think that these are some great boundaries. So, diving right in here. Let's talk about how to respond to a narcissist or a sociopath or a narcissistic sociopath. So here's what I've written in my Facebook post. I just wrote this up. They're my words. I'm not reading from somebody else's writing. Probably have a couple of grammatical mistakes since I just cranked this one out and put it up on my page. It's not for public consumption. It's just for my friends to see, but I will read it to you guys. So bear with me, because this works. Some of these tactics listed below are, like I said, kind of on the knife's edge of sounding rude, at least a touch rude, but tactically, they will work to your advantage. These are some of the best ways, and we've talked about these in depth before, but we're just going to get into them quickly here. These are some of the best ways to bait a narcissist or sociopath or narcissistic sociopath into having a public meltdown in a group environment, which is what we want when we deal with folks like these. We want others to see through their masks. We want people to do that without drawing attention to ourselves, right? So the ideal situation with somebody like this is that people around you, in fact, their audience, and now your audience, and I hate to look at it that way, but you've got to look at it through the narcissist or sociopath's eyes to an extent. So their audience / your audience needs to have the blinders taken off. You can't bitch your way into removing the blinders. You can't yell or scream or accuse or cry your way into them taking the blinders off. If you do any of those things, you're going to come across like you're the crazy one. So, okay, keep your own hands clean while you elicit this response from them. And many of these tactics, which are very passive in nature, and that's what you need, many of these tactics, which are passive in nature, are things that most people wouldn't pick up on and it wouldn't bother most people. It's like a dog whistle to the narcissist, to the sociopath, to the narcissistic sociopath. So you're essentially utilizing a dog whistle that only they can hear. So other people, when they go to everybody else later and say, oh my God, Dominique was awful. She was sitting in the work meeting and can you believe the way she was looking at me? People are going to go, what the fuck? They're going, what? Excuse me? You didn't like the way she was looking at you and that disturbed you to the point you needed to vent to me about it? And then they're going to go, aha, I see that this person has some problems. So, this is why we utilize these passive tactics. Folks, I've seen this go horribly wrong, okay? I've seen this go horribly wrong in person. I have seen a narcissist or a sociopath bait somebody passively in the meeting, aggressively outside of the meeting, where not as much of the audience was around to witness it. And by the time this victim gets in the meeting, their fists are shaking and they're so fucking mad and they're just, and That's exactly what you need to not do. I've seen this happen, and I've seen that person pushed to exploding, okay? You don't want to rush at the narcissist or the sociopath in a rage. They are planning on you doing that, either now or later. That's their plan. They want you to show that you are the crazy one, and they basically, essentially, they want you to lose it in front of everybody, okay? So instead of doing that, what you're going to do, and I'm going to give you some tactics, and then I'm going to give you some verbal responses. What you're going to do is start yawning while they're talking, checking your watch, staring at them dead in the eye with no inflection, and interspersing said blank staring with looks of slight disbelief in response to whatever they're saying. Slight disbelief, i.e., a raised eyebrow, slightly lowered head, maybe a little eye roll if nobody else is really going to catch it, a quick washroom trip or two while they're talking. Hey, a great time to take a restroom break is when a narcissist is going on a long-winded rant. Okay, whispering or looking like you're whispering to the person next to you. Now, here's one tactic that I like to utilize and tell my clients to utilize in situations like this. You should lean to the person next to you, have kind of a mischievous smile on your face, and ask them something really mundane, like, hey, do you have a pen I can borrow? I have done this. And I truly did need a pen, by the way, at the time. But if you look to them with a mischievous smile and say, kind of whisper in their ear, can I borrow a pen? That narcissist is going to be laser focused on you going, oh my God, gossip is spreading about me in the audience or in the boardroom. My God, what do I do? And they're going to be at an absolute loss. It's going to look, when that person nods their head and says, yeah, it's going to look like that person is accepting whatever gossip you just whispered in their ear, okay? So that's a good tactic to use, and that way you come out totally clean hands, nothing wrong with anything you did, you're above reproach, you're just playing on their insecurities, okay? So you're playing on their insecurities. You're not doing anything that could be considered, totally disrespectful, totally rude. And the things that you're doing that could be considered rude by the narcissist aren't going to be considered rude by other people. Now, if you move on to some of these other more, offensive tactics, that's okay. If you don't want to do that, that's fine too, okay? So if you'd like, you can make some subtle gestures to indicate that the speaker has something on their face. Make a subtle gesture to indicate that their fly is unzipped, that their hair is messed up, that their lipstick is all over their face, that they've got, forgive me, but a booger in their nose. You can tap your foot a little bit while they're talking. Look off in the other direction. Check your watch. Affect closed body language. Sit as close as possible to the narcissist while you're doing this. Okay? Ignoring them completely when they talk to you specifically, again, using your own judgment and situational awareness, is appropriate too. Now, I'm not saying if they call your name during the meeting. I'm saying if they walk up to you later and give you some nasty comment or something, just don't even look at them, don't respond to them, don't say anything, don't do anything. Pretend like you didn't hear it, you were looking off in the other direction, you were looking at your phone, what have you, okay? While they're speaking, looking like you're holding in a laugh, that's going to piss them off. That could very well lead them, along with these other tactics, that could very well lead them to a blow up. I know it wouldn't lead you or I to a blow up, but them, it's very likely. So again, looking like you're trying to hold that laugh in. Utilize some situational awareness here. Don't do that if other people are going to see it. Don't do it if people are already looking over at you. Don't do it if you're going to come across as rude or if there's a camera on you for posterity or what have you. So, be considerate. Don't disrupt other people's meeting or other people's enjoyment of this narcissist's long-winded rant or what have you. Okay? So be respectful, The only person you really want to be aware that you're doing this is the narcissist or the sociopath. So again, utilizing these tactics at your own risk, utilizing situational awareness, being careful, being considerate. Because you are a respectful person. You are not the sociopath in question. You are not the narcissist in question. And you don't need to go down to their level. Okay? So other small gestures like these are great ways to indicate that the person is not worth your time. And or that what they're saying is not of interest to you. And, you don't need to sit here and listen to it, basically. Basically, you're telling them by your body language and your action that I am doing you a favor by sitting here and giving you 10% of my attention, and that is going to piss them off beyond belief. If you must refer to or deal with a sociopath or a narcissist, do so with very little inflection in your voice. Do not react emotionally to anything they might say. If you can, refer to them without using their name. Responses to a narcissist or sociopath targeting you with bullying, harassment, or abuse are as follows. Here are some key references, both obvious and subtle, to utilize. These are key subjects you want to keep in mind when you're talking to them. Their health, their wellness. You want to use the word healthy, well, fit, their mental fitness. You want to keep these things in mind. If not, use these words outright. Key terminology to use. And key measured responses. We never have to actually address their accusation, by the way. We only redirect, because addressing their accusation isn't going to help anybody but them. They are, as a Facebook friend of mine says, they are like a certain politician who he calls the Teflon Cheeto. They're like Teflon. Any attention will stick to them, but any criticism will roll right off because they don't care what kind of attention they get. You do. You do care about being a respectful human. Sorry, but I've heard people say, oh no, I can operate on their level. No, you can't. You can't. Absolutely not. I'm going to call you on that one. You cannot. You care about being a respectful human. You're a considerate individual. You're somebody who has a modicum of empathy, compassion, and respect. You cannot operate on their level. I'm so sorry. You can't. This is why you have to respond thusly. Unless you literally spend all day, every second, every minute, every hour of every day of every week of every month, and so on and so forth, plotting, scheming, and being obsessed about what everybody thinks of you like they are, then you cannot get onto their level. And frankly, their level is not a good place to be. Don't try it. Redirect. So, some key terminology to utilize and some key measured responses are, that's a good one right there. Leave it at that. Possibly. Could be. Interesting. If that's what you think is best. Well, I suppose you know where best to spend your energy. Well, I mean, if you feel this is the best possible use of your time, yeah, go ahead. Maybe when you've settled down or calmed down a little bit, or maybe when you're feeling more yourself, maybe when you've grown into your role a little bit, utilize one or two of the following terms, not all of them in one sentence. Maybe at that time, we or I can look forward to getting down to brass tacks. Then you can, of course, insert what situation or state of affairs might best represent brass tacks in your given situation. If you're at a work meeting, maybe focusing on the future of the company or a particular problem that's been present in your day-to-day work might be a good way to go. That might be a good thing to focus on, right? Okay, another response would be, it's great to see that you've got such passion and energy. Perhaps we, or I, can look forward to you focusing on the issues affecting our, insert appropriate line here, family, company, friendship, what have you, when you feel a bit calmer and more yourself, right? So these are really good responses. Like I said, utilizing responses that address their fitness, health, wellness, mental health are great. Their level of energy, great. Drawing attention to the fact that they've sort of overreacted to a situation by saying something like, gosh, it's really great to see that you've got this amount of energy to lend to this situation. Now, I'd really like to look forward to the point in time, hopefully it'll be soon, when you're able to lend that energy to the pertinent matter that we've been discussing. So if they come at you with a targeted attack, for instance, you might say, gosh, maybe when you settle down into your new role a bit, a lot of people who have taken up like a new management role, a new elected role, what have you, within a company structure or outside of a company structure, are going to, when they're narcissists and sociopaths, they're going to be very keen on attacking other people and blaming other people for any perceived weaknesses or problems. So point out their newness by saying, hey, maybe when you've grown into your role a little bit, we'll be able to sit down and have a very respectful discussion at some time in the future. And I'll be waiting for you to feel calm enough to do that. And I'll be happy to discuss that with you when that time comes. Okay? So be matter of fact. Don't be emotional. Respond. Don't react. Okay? And it's so important. It's so important to respond without reacting. Because they want you off your game, right? They want you tripping up. They don't want you to be on your game and able to calmly respond. That's why they throw these little barbs and attacks your way. They don't want you to be able to respond in a cogent, measured, calm way that makes you seem that your emotions are well within grasp and like you've got a good grasp and a good handle on whatever expertise is necessary to deal with this issue. They want to throw you off your game. They want you feeling off. They want to challenge you. They want to just nick you like death by 1,000 cuts so that everyone else smells blood. That's their bread and butter. And as I said before, they're one-trick ponies. They really are. So am I worried about a narcissist or a sociopath getting hold of this information? Hell no. No. Mm-mm. These folks are one-trick ponies. Please keep that in mind. They're not supervillains. They're not Lord Voldemort, where you can't say their name. They're literally just disordered individuals who operate within the same spectrum of behavior. They're unable to get out of it. They're unable to get out of their own way. They're unable to get off that hamster wheel in their head. And as we talked about before, think of it this way. The song Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, running over the same old ground, right? On how we found the same old fears year after year. Right? That's exactly what they do. They retread the same ground, they retread the same fears, and they do it constantly. So please don't feel that you are at a disadvantage. You have every advantage with these people. You have every advantage with these people because you are able to utilize your emotional intelligence. They don't have that. They don't have emotional maturity. They don't have emotional intelligence. You're able to utilize your compassion and your empathy, okay? They don't have that. You're able to utilize your self-respect. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. They don't have that. They're not capable of that. So please, before you let them get into your head and sort of bring you onto their hamster wheel, remind yourself of that. Remind yourself, again, I'm going to repeat this for you. Remind yourself of the following things. If you're being targeted by somebody who is a disordered individual, remind yourself that you do care whether other people genuinely respect you or not. You don't care what they think of you judgmentally, right? Give that a moment to sink in. You don't care what they think of you judgmentally. You care whether you're operating in a way that is deserving of other people's respect. You are concerned with whether or not you are operating in a way that you feel makes you deserving of your own respect, right? So think of that. Remember that. You are a person who respects yourself. They don't, they can't, they won't ever. It's a very sad state of affairs. They're unable to respect themselves. They're unable, because they cannot respect themselves, they are unable to respect other human beings. No matter what, they can't change. They're one-trick ponies. They tread the same ground and retread the same ground, and they just keep going over that same hamster wheel. Okay? So remember that. And remember that you are somebody who has emotional maturity. They're not. You're somebody who has emotional intelligence. They aren't, and they can't. They have a handicap. They have a handicap. You are somebody who is capable of great compassion and kindness and empathy. They are not. That is why every little thing that a really genuinely confident person like you does or says gets to them on that soul level, because they see your light. They are a shadow of a person. You are a beautiful person who has a full spectrum of light. They're drawn to that light, but at the same time, what does light do to shadows? Well, it can either make them a lot bigger, or it can make them disappear. That's what they're frightened of. They want you to make them bigger, but they know that you had the power to make them disappear. So keep that in mind when you are dealing with these folks. Remember, you have every advantage. You have the upper hand. You've got this. So you're not alone. And really, that's my entire reasoning for kind of talking about this subject and focusing on this subject. It's what I do for a living. I coach people and consult with people, both business people and people who want personal therapy and coaching, to help them deal with various life situations, but particularly to help them deal with problem personality types and people who are very difficult to interact with. So this is what I do for a living. And let me tell you that I have never had a client come to me and say, oh my God, your advice sucks and it didn't work for me. No, it's pretty universal advice from any good therapist or psychotherapist or consultant worth their salt who knows disorders. This is what you're going to hear. This is what you're going to hear. And everybody I've given this advice to has had it work out very well. I have had it work out very well for me. I'm very proud to say, and I continue to utilize it when I have to deal with folks in the political sphere and through some of the volunteer organizations I work with who are difficult personalities, and through some of the community outreach that myself and others do in the area. I like to get this message out there far and wide because I want to make your life easier. I found this to be helpful in my life. It's made my life easier. I want to do the same for you. I don't really have another agenda here. I mean, sure, I'd like to improve my business, but why do I want to improve my business? Well, I want to help you. I want to improve my reach so I can help you. And I want to connect with other therapists, consultants, and counselors. So if you are one and you're listening, I'd really like to hear what you have to say on the matter and hear from you. And if we can work together, great, because we need to keep getting this message out there. And on that note, I am actually always looking for guests on this show who would like to either speak about their stories or, somebody who's had a personal dealing with somebody who's on the disordered spectrum, and or other professionals who work with folks on the disordered spectrum, especially those who work with folks on the disordered spectrum through the people that they've victimized, right? So if that fits what you do for a living and you want to reach out, feel free. I'd like to talk with you. I think we just need to keep getting this out there. It doesn't matter who says it and who gets it out there. Just matters that it gets out there. Because in my opinion, and this is probably just my psychology, focus and my psychological bias coming into play, but I have heard this said by many other people as well. And in my opinion, this is true. Narcissism and sociopathy are the epidemics of our time. Even the 4 in 100 narcissists or sociopaths can do a heck of a lot of damage. If you think about one narcissist or one sociopath or one other disordered cluster B individual as somebody like at the top of a pyramid scheme, think about that for a minute. So here's this one person. They've probably got 2 support personalities under them. They've probably got 3 targets under those people. They've probably got another, 4 or 5 targets under those people, and then another 6 or 7 under those, and on and on and on. So just one narcissist, one sociopath can just greatly impact society at large. And I am not exaggerating when I say that. If you would like, feel free to look up the work of Dr. Robert Hare. He has studied psychopathy in the Canadian prison system, and he has learned quite a bit about this disorder, and he would agree that this is the epidemic of our time. I'd like you to do your due diligence. Don't just believe what I'm saying. I may sound credible, and I am, but you need to do your research. So keep researching the topic. Keep getting the information that you need. Keep arming yourself. Keep adding tools to your tool belt. And when you do go out there and do these searches, I would like for you, if you are comfortable doing this, to get onto YouTube and be careful where you comment on YouTube. You don't want to be attacked by trolls. If you are somebody who is a victim of abuse, you need to heal right now. But please feel free to look up the terms narcissism, sociopathy, psychopathy, cluster B personality disorders. You will find some amazing YouTube content creators who do what I do and similar things to what I do for a living, who are in the psychology field, who are here to help you, offer you free advice. Many of us are private consultants as well, and private therapists as well. And you know what? We're here to help you, and you're not alone. So I'm going to end it on that note. I think we went just a little bit over 10 minutes, but I hope that the show, was of value to you. And, like I said, you're not alone. You've got this. So here's looking at you. Hope to bend your ear very shortly on this topic. Keep standing up for yourself. Keep walking down that path with your head held high. And again, know that you're not alone. Have a wonderful evening.